Newcomers to the league and fair-weather fans alike face many difficult considerations in deciding which NFL team to support for the rest of their lives, or in the latter case, this season, and there are quite a few variables that might factor into a fan's decision of his or her new favorite franchise. The instinctive rationale would be to support your hometown, since that team will be the most readily available for your viewing pleasure. But what if you're from a city that just doesn't like to win football games like Detroit, or a town whose franchise couldn't be bothered to give their team an indoor practice facility like Cincinnati? You might follow a particular player you like, in the same way as Patriots fans became Buccaneers fans since they couldn't bear the thought of losing without Brady, or you could just pick the team with the best odds of winning, in the same way as Patriots fans became Buccaneers fans since they couldn't bear the thought of losing without Brady. Yet one of the most appealing facets of a team is their uniform, and the colors they choose to represent their section of America. But team colors don't really mean anything with respect to logistics and winning probability, and even if they did, it wouldn't matter since there would be no way to represent the best colors in the NFL. Would there? My name's Quick Pick Nick, and using the official listings of every team's primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, as well as the historical success of franchises across the league, I was able to determine the winningest and losingest colors in the NFL, and I redesigned every logo to truly display that success or failure. So if you've ever wondered what the Jets would look like with winning colors, or how a second-rate Chiefs logo would look, I've compiled a final showcase of all 64 recolors later in the video. At first, I created a scoring system to determine the most successful football teams in the history of the NFL, and to make this scoring system, I needed a way to effectively gauge a team's success. And when you think success in the NFL, you think Super Bowl, so for every Super Bowl victory, a team received 1 point. For a loss in the Super Bowl, that team is still relatively successful, so I added half a point to each of those teams. However, it doesn't really matter how many Super Bowls you've been to if you can't seal the deal and win one for yourself, so if a team has never actually won the big game, no matter how many they've been to, I've subtracted half a point. And if a team's never made it past the conference championship, they deserve recognition for their lack of success, so those teams each scored -1. I then used the official National Football League record and fact book to catalog every team's colors. These listings typically consisted of 3 colors, and for every team that included a given color, their team scores would be averaged, resulting in a final score for each individual color. There was the occasional team with only 2 colors, like the Raiders, for which I included a 1.5 times multiplier, since those colors would naturally have a greater effect on the team's success without the help of a third color. If a team listed 4 colors, I would just drop the most common one, which was typically some variation of white, black, or silver, and leave the remaining 3. There were 2 colors that I didn't include in the final ranking since they belonged to only one team each, and those colors were the Jaguars' ugly-looking mixture of blue, green turned teal, and the Browns' namesake brown. Also, blue was divided into royal blue, navy blue, and powder blue since the 3 seemed too unique to be lumped together in the same grouping. Plus, the end result would be quite boring since the 19 teams that include some variation of blue would just average out, so the whole color ended up in the middle of the pack. Now that you know how I found the most and least successful colors, it's time to show you where each color ranks from worst to best of every color in the NFL. And if you're on board for more answering of questions that nobody asked, subscribe and stay tuned for more absolutism in the world of sports. Starting at the bottom with the worst color in the NFL, the color of losers if you will, the color that has seen a grand total of 2 Super Bowls combined from the 4 teams that represent it. Powder blue. The Chargers, Dolphins, Panthers, and Lions all had some close variation of this officially listed powder color, which is kind of a shame since this bright color is literally one of the cooler colors in the league. The Chargers' only appearance in the Super Bowl was a loss, so that half point was cancelled out since they've never won. The Panthers have lost twice, scoring just half a point, and the Lions haven't so much as had the chance to lose, scoring -1 with 0 appearances. The Dolphins are the sole bright spot on the color, scoring 3.5 points with 2 Super Bowl wins and 3 losses, but even that wasn't enough to save the color, averaging out to 0.75, not even a full point. So for the 3 hopeless teams here, the color is actually quite fitting, but the Dolphins might want to consider a rebrand if they're trying to carry any of their momentum into the near future. For second to last, we have one of the most prestigious colors, historically treated as royalty by the Romans and others, a color that just 2 teams share but lose almost equally as much wearing. Purple. The Ravens and Vikings were the only 2 teams to list purple as an official color, but that's not an exclusive club that you want to be a part of. The Ravens have actually done pretty decently throughout history, winning both of their 2 Super Bowl appearances, which is a cool record to be undefeated in the Super Bowl, but less cool when you consider that they've only ever been there twice. And as for the Vikings, their appearance count doubles that of Baltimore's, making it to the big game 4 times, but Minnesota's never won, tying for the most appearances without a win with Buffalo, scoring 1.5 points and averaging the color purple to 1.75. For the tertiary color of our losingest combination, we have a color that just slightly moves the needle, the primary color for many of the worst franchises in the history of the NFL, a lyricist's worst nightmare. Orange. The Bengals, Browns, Broncos, Dolphins, Bears, and for some reason the Buccaneers all listed orange as a team color. Cincinnati and Cleveland fans were probably expecting the inevitable of seeing their iconic insignia end up at the bottom of this list, although orange was almost saved by Miami, which once again has quite a good score at 3.5, but also the misfortune of donning some of the worst colors in the league. Denver also positively contributed to potentially helping out their favorite vitamin C provider, scoring 5.5 points with their 8 appearances in the Super Bowl and 3 wins, but with a half point from the Bengals, a -1 from the Browns, and mediocre scores from the Bears and Buccaneers, orange was doomed to fall into this undesirable status. So there we have the worst colors in the history of the NFL: powder blue, purple, and orange. I'll save the 32 custom logos using these 3 colors for the final showcase to be shown alongside the champions logos, but for now, let's continue the rankings. Barely making it out from the chopping block, the lowest ranking color that isn't considered one of the worst is navy, worn by 8 different teams. The Broncos were yet again a bright spot on the color, this time alongside Dallas, combining for 12 points for the pair, but with the Texans' 0 Super Bowl appearances, the Chargers and Titans 0 wins, and below average scores for the remainder of the Navy teams, this color couldn't have made it past a few points at 2.125. Speaking of failing to make it past a few points, we have our most basic color in the league, and one of the least interesting or eye-catching colors: black. As you'd probably imagine, black is a pretty popular color, listed for 11 different teams, which is why black is almost like a benchmark for the average score of this ranking system, scoring 2.18. But black would be a horrible benchmark since there is an even better measurement for an average of sorts, a color that is more common and more boring than black, a background color that will thankfully stay that way: white. White is worn by exactly half of the NFL, with 16 teams representing white as one of their official colors. This color was the most popular of any options listed in the rulebook, making this point the most accurate as to an average score for the rankings at 2.28. A halfway point of good and bad, which would make sense as black and white next to each other is kind of like a yin and a yang, with black as the cutoff for the losing colors and white as the cutoff for the winning colors. So if you or your team's favorite colors haven't been named yet, you've probably got good taste in the visible light spectrum. We've now reached the top 5, with the remaining colors acting as statistically and objectively the best colors in the NFL. Starting off this highly coveted honor roll at number 5 with 4 unique teams wearing this color: green. The motivation for many, a sign of greed for others, green's 2.5 points is satisfactory enough to land them in the top 5. The Eagles and Seahawks both scored a couple of points, setting a solid foundation that was almost ruined by the Jets' lone Super Bowl victory, but saved by the Packers' 4 wins out of 5 appearances. At number 4, we've got what I considered to be my favorite color for some reason when I was in elementary school, a color that was embodied by a really cool surfboarder in the Marvel Universe: silver. Silver was decently popular, worn by 7 teams, with notable scores from the Patriots at 8.5, thanks mostly to Brady and New England's 6 wins and 5 losses, and the Raiders scoring 4 points but getting that 1.5 times multiplier since their only other color was black, ending at an average of 2.57. Finally, we've made it to the top 3, the 3 best colors in the NFL, starting with the tertiary of the optimal color combination, one of the classics: red. There was massive representation around the league for the color red, worn by as many teams as black, at a total of 11 unique franchises donning the color flowing inside us all. The average score comes out to about 3.09 points, breaking that 3-point boundary and helped by teams including the Patriots with 8.5, the Giants with 4.5, and the 49ers with 6. With only 2 colors remaining, you know that this next color is going to be a hard hitter, a powerhouse in the world of spectrophotometry, a rather heavy element to handle: gold. Interestingly enough, in the 907-page document that is the NFL's official record and rulebook, the word yellow only appears in reference to the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets and a few times about the goalposts. Instead, anything that looks like yellow in a team's logo or uniform is listed as gold, so you could consider this another one of the primary colors in a way. The gold I used in the winning logos is the closest I could get to a middle ground by taking the yellows and golds from every team's listings and averaging their RGB values, which looks like this. Gold was really helped by the Steelers and 49ers, who scored 7 and 4 respectively, but those 2 teams also only have 2 official colors, boosting each score by a factor of 1.5, but even that wasn't enough to earn them the top spot, as gold ended around 3.5. No, the best color in the NFL belongs to an even superior color, the only one that managed to score at least 4 points, a color which is worn by 7 teams in the NFL, and one that has seen many Super Bowl victories in its tenure with the league, in addition to yet another primary color, a hue fit for royalty: Royal Blue. At 4.14 points, including high scores from the Patriots, Cowboys, Giants, Dolphins, and Colts, and even a couple of low points from the Bills and Titans, Royal Blue is the most successful football color, completing a trifecta of primary colors in the winningest color combination of the NFL. A nice basic red, a gold that looks a lot like yellow, and a kingly royal blue. And now for the cool part, where I get to show you all of the winningest logos, including recolors of all 32 teams with the red, gold, and royal blue from the top 3, as well as the losingest logos using the powder blue, purple, and orange from the bottom of the barrel by alphabetical order. So over the next minute, you'll see a bunch of pretty looking logos in an art gallery of the NFL, and to be honest, some of these logos kinda look better than the original, as humble as that might not sound. Take the Browns, who now have colors that actually pop instead of a dull orange with a colorless brown. The Cardinals still look like a baseball team, but now maybe the Blue Jays or Sunbirds. I did my best with the Colts, but with just one blue shoe, there's not much room for creativity. The Dolphins look especially neat with their recolors, one with a darker sun and one featuring the surface of Mars. For the least inspired team name and logo, the Washington football team with a W as a logo, I just made a gradient that looks cool. For some reason, the Jets reminded me of Jersey Mike's, which is oddly fitting given their stadium is in New Jersey and the Lions look unrecognizable, displaying the iconicity of their powder color. The losers color actually looks better for the Patriots, so their new trend of losing might be fitting. The Saints look a lot more interesting without their boring beige color too, adding more vibrancy. The Steelers look familiar since their 3 stars are the same as the top 3 colors, even though none of them were listed as official team colors. And finally, the Vikings look like Wendell's, fierce competitor to Wendy's with both of their red pigtails. And there you have the best and worst logos and colors in the NFL, ranked by objectiveness of those colors' talent levels, ending in a beautiful NFL rainbow for all to admire. Unless you're colorblind, in which case I don't know why you're still here, but if you are, I love the dedication and as always appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. These longer, highly edited, and just weird videos are definitely something I'll continue to do and keep the brain juices flowing to see what else I can come up with. The NFL definitely has tons of content with room for tons of creativity, but I do also plan on expanding into other sports, probably the NBA first with similar ideas. Maybe a winningest colors of the NBA video down the line. I will be sticking with the NFL in the near future though, with at least a couple more of these long form videos covering the greatest sport in the world. And if you play daily fantasy sports, I post a few short videos a week covering the NBA or NFL depending on what's happening using my very own simulations and programs. So whether you like fantasy sports, weird videos like this one, or both, subscribe and join the Quick Pick Network. Until next time, this has been Quick Picnic, the intersection for sports, data analysis, and speed. Thanks for watching.